We are not the smartest country these days. I've got to say, when I see a lot of what's going on, I scratch my head. What we're doing to ourselves on energy, what we've done to ourselves on defence capability, what we've done with water supplies. When did we last build a decent dam? The housing crisis, inflation, workplace relations. We really are intent on self-harm. And now another instalment in this madness. Not only do we have a crazy situation where nuclear power is illegal in this country, where we export uranium to other countries so they can have reliable emissions-free electricity, but we won't use it ourselves, where we realise that nuclear is the bee's knees to power our long-awaited next generation of submarines, but reckon it isn't worth using to power our cities. Well, not only do we have this irrational aversion to nuclear power, but we have an almost insane reluctance to look after our own low-level nuclear waste. You know the sort of stuff we're talking about. It's the relatively harmless waste from hospital X-ray machines and nuclear medicine that's used to combat cancers and the like. The sort of waste that right now is scattered around hospitals, factories and government installations all around the country. Well, for 3 or 4 decades now, this country has been looking to build one safe, secure waste repository for this stuff so it can just be stored in a logical and rational way for the good of the country. And finally, just 2 years ago, a decision was made to build this waste facility near Kimber on South Australia's Eyre Peninsula, on an old wheat farm bought for this very purpose and where the local population had been mainly in favour of the plan. Makes sense, doesn't it? Should have happened 20 years ago, but finally this was going to happen. Until yesterday. The federal court has overturned the decision based on objections from the local Aboriginal group and a ruling that they were not properly consulted.
It's a significant site, and I'm glad that they're not going to destroy anything around in that area.
This is not bushland. This is an old wheat farm. This is not a native title issue. Freehold title is supposed to extinguish native title. This looks like opposition for opposition's sake, supported all along by so-called conservationists. Conservationists who apparently like low-level radioactive waste being spread all around the joint instead of being stored in a safe and relatively remote facility. And for some in that local community in Kimber, scrapping the waste facility comes as a blow.
Pretty devastating for the majority of the community, and particularly, I think economically, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, not to mention the problem this creates for the country, which needs a facility like this and has struggled for decades to build one, basically because of the NIMBY attitude of politicians, some local communities, and now an Aboriginal group too. Meanwhile, the waste builds up in other locations. What a clever country we are. I'll talk to Keith Pitt later. He was the minister who made the decision that's now been overturned by the court.